What is good, YouTube? Quinway basketball analysis coming to y'all with that quick analysis while holding down analysisplayground.com. At the same time, we're going to talk about the Deandre Jordan trade, other free agency news, and also my Celtics trading again to get Juancho Hernan Gomez, who I also seen from the beginning, even at Summer League, and now he's a part of my Celtics. I'll tell y'all how I feel about that. But let's start with the big news. The Nets trade DeAndre Jordan to the Pistons. And DeAndre Jordan was a part of the big three, bringing him, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant all to Brooklyn so they can all play together and possibly win a championship in Brooklyn while also being friends. The Nets will also send 4 future second round picks and 5.78 million to the Detroit Pistons for Jahlil Okafor and Sekou Demboya. The Nets will save approximately $47 million in salary and, this is important, luxury tax payments with this deal. Detroit plans to work out a buyout with DeAndre Jordan on the $20 million remaining over the final 2 seasons of his deal. And that's smart for him to get off the Pistons, who are rebuilding and going in a different direction, to go on a team that's interested in you, but can also give you minutes and give you a chance to possibly win a championship, which DeAndre Jordan hasn't done this in his career so far. He had a shot last year with the Nets. Obviously, injury stopped that from happening. And now he's ended up, business part of the game is ugly. You wanted to play with Kyrie and Kevin Durant and you did it. But obviously, you couldn't see that full contract out with them as you have already been traded because of financial situations. Plus, they brought friends like Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge, which help facilitate you being movable and expendable on this roster. And I'd rather have LaMarcus than DeAndre Jordan. Even though DeAndre Jordan is a rim protector, he hasn't been a great defender in a long time. And he also is nowhere near the offensive players as Blake Griffin, Paul Millsap, and LaMarcus Aldridge at this point of his career. And he was injured a lot last year and didn't even play any minutes in the playoffs really. And you just can't have that at his age and making the money that he's making. You need him to be impactful. You need him to be that defensive menace that he was known for, especially with the Clippers. And he hasn't been that in so long. I didn't even think they should have traded for. I didn't think they should have brought him in the first place. And he really hasn't had that impact or even was really worth that contract from day one till every single year after that, which is three. And they are already moving on from him so quickly as he didn't even finish it out, like I said before. And it's understandable. Jahlil Okafor and Sekou are not going to be a huge part of this team or this team future. Sekou is a guy that is very raw. They took a gamble on him, which was the Pistons drafted him as a project, a guy that can be a spacing, possible two-way stretch four that had the ability to grow and be a lanky, rangy defender if he filled out his body and really was able to up his consistency in shooting. And I just don't see him being a huge part of this team or even making a huge impact on this team. It's basically just to save money. And Jahlil Okafor, we know he won't be on this team that long as he hasn't really been a productive or even a rotation big so far in his career. And I don't see them keeping him really ever at this point. You have so many bigs already on his roster, and they all significantly better than Jahlil Okafor. And if he's not going to get any playing time, you can use his roster spot for somebody else, even if you want to bring in another veteran at buyout wise in the future, or if you just want to try out some two-way guys, you can do that like they did last year with guys like Nicholas, and even I can go on and on with guys that they were trying out last year, and that gives you flexibility and also give you chances to tinker with the roster and find a guy that's a good fit with this group and can be a difference maker like we've seen the last couple years that they have done and found quality guys in those roles, and they can continue to do that. But I don't see Sekou or Jaleel being impact, or guys that will stay on this roster or even be significant if they did for a little bit. Guys, as they will not see no playing time as they're raw or just not good enough to play valuable minutes unless a lot of injuries happen and they was forced to play them. But I just don't see that happening as they have a lot of forwards and bigs and guards on this team already. So these guys will be gone basically. The next thing I would say is the Memphis Grizzlies have agreed to trade Juancho, who was rumored to be traded. They didn't really want him when they traded him, so we knew he would be gone. We just didn't know if they was gonna get for him. But we ended up finding out that he did have a team that was interested and a team that did want him, and it was the Boston Celtics. So they would trade Chris Dunn and Carson Edwards and a 2026 second round pick swap, which is important because it's not guaranteed it's a swap, depending on the conditions in that particular draft. The Grizzlies obviously acquired them in the Patrick Beverly trade, and Boston will similarly acquired Chris Dunn $5 million contract too in the trade prior. So to me, Juancho hasn't been as great in Minnesota, and that's why they moved on from him so quick. They traded for him. They gave him a contract extension, and he didn't play nowhere near to his expectations that they had set out for him, and then they ended up moving on for him very quickly. Juancho is a guy that could be a guy that can space the floor and shoot threes as a forward. Really gives you a lot of versatility offensively, especially if he's hitting his shots. But that just hasn't been the case so far in his career. Hasn't been able to do it consistently, especially from the three point shot or even the mid range. And that's something that he's really going to have to master if he wants to stick and have longevity in this league after this contract is up. And a lot of teams are going to give him a chance. A lot of teams are going to give him an opportunity, but if he really wants to stick another long-term contract or stick in this league, the shooting has to be there each and every night or a majority of the nights, as he will be a role player for the rest of his career at this point, and his role will be spacing the floor as a stretch big. And if he's not going to be a great defender or even a great rebounder, he has to have some type of skill or value to be a coveted prize in this league, and he was able to show that a little bit and was able to show it enough to the Wolves, who traded for him from Denver. And obviously, he just didn't work out the way that they thought. I still do think he has talent, and I still do think he can be an impact player. And at this point, Boston wants as much space for guys like Tatum and Brown to be able to operate and facilitate and score, and also have space to be able to score in isolation on mismatches. And Wacho will be able to add that. Plus, I'd rather have him than Chris Dunn and Carson Edwards, who are guys that are skill set guys too, but they just don't have the upside that Juancho has, as these guys are what they are and are not going to be better than that. While Juancho gives you something that we need more of, especially with youth, but also a guy that can just give us a little bit more that those guys don't offer. And we have so many guards that we don't need more. And those are two guards that we're trading for a guy that we kind of do need on this team. And now we have him, and now we will have to see what he does. And we didn't give up much anyway, as those guys are considered rotation players too at this point of their career, as they didn't even play many minutes on their last couple of teams either, while Juancho was a big part of what Minnesota was trying to do when he was healthy. Now we just got to see, can he stay healthy and can he shoot? And if he can figure those things out, he could be a quality upgrade over these two. But if he can't, then his contract isn't that long, and we can move on from him next year or even, this year, if we want to take a loss pick wise to get off his contract to another team. The Nets also waived Elijah Johnson, which is unfortunate because it seemed like they really liked him and really wanted him to be a part of this team. But they ended up finding better players, so they just went with them and just got rid of him. The Thunder also signed Vit. He will be coming over in a multi-year contract. He ended up playing in the Spanish league, and he will now finally get an opportunity to play in the NBA. And we will see what he will be able to do and what minutes they will give him and role he will have, as all that is unknown at this point. But we will see within the next 2 years if he's worth it and if he can be an impact player, even if it's a role player. And also something that I missed yesterday, which isn't really big news, But regardless if you're a big player in this league or not, I try to cover you and give you, at least some respect because you're in the NBA or you're still under contract or teams are still signing you. Last week or 2 weeks ago, the Raptors ended up signing Sheev Mikhailuk to a 2-year deal. Not a lot of money. Not going to be a significant player for them. Not going to be a significant impact player, but is a guy that can give you 10 to 15 minutes. And I think that they will value that, considering that is a waivable contract. Is a contract to where you're not committing a lot of money, not really committing a lot of resources to give him this spot. And if he works, you can continue to give him more minutes, or even just see what you have. And if he doesn't work, you can always let him go and just replace him with somebody else that you're interested in or like in the future. So it's a win-win for them. Try out somebody you like and you want. If you don't like them, get rid of them. If you do like them, you keep them under a cheap contract, which favors them anyway. So this is a win-win for the Raptors, and it makes sense for them. But I missed it last week in the last video, so I wanted to cover it today. Other than that, I'll be bringing y'all what to expect Brooklyn Nets next. So if you want to check that out, subscribe. If not, you already subscribed, so you're going to love it anyway because that's why you subscribed. And I'll see y'all a little later today. Quinn Wade, Basketball Analysis, signing out.